Hey everybody, so our challenge today is to look at the artwork of Jim Dine and his use of everyday objects, very simple subjects like he did with his hearts. He used his paintbrushes for inspiration. So what we're going to do is we're going to create almost the still life of paintbrushes, where we're going to really look into creating these shadows here to give it some dimensionality. It almost looks like they're lifting off the paper. And we're going to add like kind of this contrast between the black and white of the paintbrush and using the paint to add that pop of color, and even using some splatter technique, which you can do in the safety of your home. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you have it, you're going to try to gather a group of paintbrushes. And if you don't have one, in the slideshow I have some samples of different paintbrushes. So I'm going to just think first how I want to get started. And for me, I would start in pencil. And actually, as you see them laying on the paper, you can see the shadow on the side. That'll help us give it some dimensionality. So let's say I'm looking at this brush here. I'll start with that one. I'm going to think about this shape. That's called the ferrule of the brush. So we have the handle, the ferrule, and the bristles. I'm going to start with that shape. Kind of almost looks like when we were making the hot cocoa for the ferrule. And then I'm going to make the handle like that. And you can add some detailing. I might make it a little bit more rounded here, like that. Another little line there. And then for the bristles, you're going to kind of bring it up, and you're going to just do some kind of like zigzaggy lines across the top. Now I'm showing you in pencil first because I would definitely suggest this is a project to do in pencil first. Pull some of it down, and I'm just going to outline this one to get us started. So probably you notice I went a little close to the top, maybe not so much when I'm doing it my next one, because I'm going to want to have room for the paint. So here is my handle. Here is the ferrule. And maybe when I'm going over it here, I just won't go so high. The top of it, make my, like it's going round, and then I'll stop a little sooner. I'll go to here. And toward the bottom, it'll give it some extra depth from the ferrule up into the bristles. Pull some of them down like that. And now I have my paintbrush. So we're going to get a selection of them in different sizes, but one of the things for shading I'd like us to try is to go along the side. And remember how I said to hold your pencils, not like you're writing letters, but you want to use the side part, the cone part, and you're going to just rub along the side. My pencil might be a little different than yours, but yours will still work the same way. Right along the edges. And if your pencil is a little smaller, you might want to make some circular motions, but you just don't want any harsh lines. So when you see it like that, you can take your finger, just do a little smearing. And if it goes on top of the pencil, that's okay, because that part would be in shadow. So I'm going to go back and add a little more shadow to actually did I say pencil? I meant paintbrush. Along the edges, maybe make it a little bit darker here, closer to the handle. So I'm just going in. You just don't want to do a one-shot deal. You can go over it a few times to help build up that shadow. And do a little smearing. You could do that here if you want. Like that. You could do it on both sides, but the idea is to give it that illusion like the actual shadow coming up off the page. So once I do that, then I'm going to make my other ones, and I'm going to work in Sharpie if you don't mind, just so that I can get right through it with you. So I'm going to go here, my handle. I'm going to make the ferrule. And you can look to it for inspiration, or you could just kind of freestyle it. Usually what it's going to do is hold the bristles in place, so it does need to be bigger than that. And then I might make it, this brush looks more like it gets a little bit more pinched here. There we go. I'll add my shadowing. I'm going to do a nice small skinny brush. And I can put them at different heights, but definitely want to keep the ferrule doing its job, which is to hold the bristles in place. And I'm going to show you one. I don't have a sample of it here, but I did see one that was kind of like this. It's like a paddle brush. Almost looks like a nose. Sort of like this, up to the sides, across the metal part, the ferrule. I might even add some little bolts along there, keep it interesting. Make a hole here because sometimes these hang. I might even make it look three-dimensional by adding that little illusion. And then up, up. And again, keep an eye on how far up you go with your bristles. If you want to have a lot of room for paint, you can make them smaller or further down. Definitely try not to make them all the same size as these lines. Some go a little higher, some go a little lower. All the way across. I would say you probably should fit at least 4 in here. I have room for one more. I'm going to throw one more in here, real quick one. I'll make it a flat brush. That means the handle looks like this. Here's my ferrule. And then I'm going to just have flat bristles here, like this. Like this. And from there I can add all of the paint. So in with the shadowing. In along the edges. And I don't want to take too much of your time showing you this part because you see the finished piece. What you're going to do is make sure to add shadow on all of them, and you can definitely get it onto the brush. And then, oh, I forgot the fan brush. I should have included one of those. Maybe I'll transform that. But then what you're going to do is you're going to take your brush and your paint. This one's finished, so I'll start with that one. I'll leave the rest for later. I'm going to pick a color, and I'm going to add paint. Watercolor works really well with this because you can be a little bit more messy and you can kind of get light to dark. I'm just kind of tapping the color in. And then I probably would like to add a little bit of splatter. So tapping it all around. And I would do that with all the colors that I'm going to be using, okay? Have fun. Good luck.